You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. Now, as you may know, I normally do not have guests on my podcast. I've only had one formal guest, so to speak, over the years, and his name is James Wedmore. And the other times that he's been here, we've talked about AYNI, A-Y-N-I, which is the ancient reciprocity of life. In this episode, we talk about, obviously I have him back because that's why I'm talking about him. We talk about a lot of stuff, but the truth is this. A lot of my listeners are in the business world in some way, or they're either entrepreneurs. And we talk about many aspects of money more than anything because there's so many people that struggle with money. Now, I say this humbly. I'm very wealthy and I run an upper 7-figure per year business. James is very wealthy and he runs an 8-figure per year business. He's an amazing individual, is very humble, very down to earth, and we talk about many aspects of business and generating income and generating wealth and generating revenue and how we do it, and we want to share a lot of our perspective on the way that we approach it with you. Also, one more thing, we just kind of dug into the podcast, so you're going to hear us joking around and kidding around a lot and just playing. So you'll probably hear some kind of, facsimile of an intro a little bit later on once we start the episode, because I don't even remember what we went into once we started it. Anyway, I know it's a good episode. I enjoyed doing it, and I know that you're going to enjoy listening. All right, keep listening.
Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you, because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here.
Okay, guys, we're back, and James and I are cracking up, so we're going to have a good time today. But I'm interviewing him because I know that he and I together can help you guys with money. And a lot of you guys have challenges with money. And we talked about some potential headlines today. And Nikki, who's my director of operations, sent both of us this text about an hour ago. And I want to read the text because let's take this text apart. She goes, the idea is that so many people struggle with money, even if you air quote know all the universal laws about money. The intention, meaning of this podcast, is a refreshing, helpful, spiritual conversation about money from two super spiritual and successful guys. Are we that super spiritual and successful?
I'm so spiritual.
Okay, well, I didn't know. No, I'm just kidding, guys. And that's where I really want to go. She goes, I believe both of you have gone through various money things in your life and can share your stories. Most of all, touch on the 3D versus the 5D and talk about the money stuff that no one talks about because they simply don't have access to the knowledge you have with Don Javier. One caveat there. All of you listening is that James also now, to the same degree, works with Don Javier that I do. As my brother-in-law, I've done it for a lot of years, and James is literally, for lack of better terms, on the inner circle now with Don Javier. And so what I want to talk about, what I just said there, James, I want this to be organic, that anything hits you or any place you want to dig in based upon what I just said, that our whole intention today is to help people that have read all the books. Why have I read the 7 Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra and this book and that book and this book and that book, and they're still struggling with money? So where do you want to, that's my suggestion to start there, but.
Yeah, I there's a lot of places I am dying to start, but you have to start at one place, right? And
well, let's go here first. Just so everyone knows, I'm sorry, it's my fault because we're very casual today, is that you run an extraordinarily successful, I think, 8-figure business per year now.
Yeah.
I know we never talk like this when we're together, but you're a multimillionaire. I'm a multimillionaire, run multiple seven-figure business as well. We've been very successful in the business world, very successful making money. And I just want everyone to know that, not to be, you know, I want to be humble about it, but we've been in the trenches. We're entrepreneurs. We know what it takes to attract money into your life. Okay, back to you. Where do you want to go with?
I think a place to start is an unlikely place to start, which is like, this is a conversation, an episode that your listeners are probably going to notice that they're really gravitated towards. And there's almost like a catch-22 inherent in all of this, because one of the first things that On says is, when you make money your master, you lose yourself. Yeah. And we're really raised and indoctrinated into a culture that does that. And so on one hand, that may be what's drawing you to this episode, is like, yes, more money. And you got to be careful about that, right? Like, what do we believe money will give us? And when we start to decide that once I have a certain amount of money, then I'll be happy, then I'll be successful, I'll be enough, I'll be worthy, I'll get the lover, I'll get all the things, then that's where we've already given our power away to money, to create us, to have power over us. And so it becomes a very interesting conversation, because on one hand, that's what like can draw people into these type of conversations, but it actually becomes that energy and that way of being that can be the biggest thing that pushes money away. And one of the big things he taught us is, when we no longer do that, when we no longer give our power to money, when we no longer make it our master, that's when it comes flooding in. And then you start to see that really the sky is the limit. So I think it's a unique place to start, but I think it's an important place to start, which is, what is driving somebody, or what is the driver or the desire, the motivation behind listening to an episode like this? Is it already thinking like, well, because once I have money, like all my problems go away? And I hate to break it to you, but that's just, not how it works.
Are you serious?
You'll finally be happy.
Don't go away.
That's the other thing too, is like Walt Disney lied to us, right? The whole happily ever after, once I have a certain business, it's like, problems don't go away. They're just different problems at every level. And you just become more resilient and powerfully effective at how you handle those problems. But
you and I were talking at Brandon's event, our friend Brandon Lucero, about a year and a half ago. And you said something, rarely do you say anything wise, but you said something wise.
But those rare moments.
Rare moments.
That's why they call me a wise ass,
Is that what it is? I thought there was other reasons as well, but that I know of. But you said something really simple and wise, and I find it to be true, is that money doesn't, I forget how you said it, but basically you were saying really all money does is make life easier for you, meaning that you missed your air flight, your fare, so you just book another flight, rent a car, rent a hotel, whatever you want to do, as an example.
Yeah, it can turn problems into minor inconveniences, but that's only if you're using money in the correct way. Like if you, because a lot of people get money and then they have a hard time letting it go, and they hold on to it with like that death grip, and they value, and this is, you and I both talk about this so much, is they value their money so much more than their mental, sanity, so much more than their time, than their energy. And I've watched people go through hoops and days and be in the whole ego of like, but it's the principle of it. It's like, yeah. And it's also your time and your life is so short and precious. Like, just go buy the next ticket, or go, just handle this and move on.
Hang on.
Yeah,
so you deal with entrepreneurs like I do, but you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs because your program is called BBD, Business by Design. Therefore, it's all business focused, and people have these thoughts that if it's all business, I'm doing it because of money. Now, I want to come back here. You said something and Don Javier said this to us, and I talked about this on the last podcast a little bit about making money your master. But you said that people Don Javier told us when we're talking about it, is that people make money their master, and they give all their power to money. So if I'm sitting home right now, or in the car, or wherever I am listening, how do I not give my power away to money?
That is the question.
That's why I'm asking you.
Thanks, Jim. So I think the first place is we have to start looking at unpacking that. What does that mean? How am I already giving it away specifically? For me, where that starts is is a huge piece around values. Okay. So what do you believe money will give you that you can only have when you have more money? And that will start to elicit certain values that you've now conditioned on money. The other thing too is that when you value that more than other values in your life, in other words, if you're constantly sacrificing family for money, then you're starting to say, this becomes the aim in my life. This becomes the trajectory and nothing else matters. And we had this, talking to a family member, and they were realizing they were missing their kids, karate lessons and ballet recitals because they were working too much. And they realized it now, and they're like, wow, I have been in this gotta work hard to make money thing, and I'm missing out on my kids and their life. I'm missing out on being a father to them. And to recognize that and to start to go, what is really important? But I think people are still operating from this either or. It's like, well, then if I don't work hard and do the 14-hour days, then I can't make money. And I think that's the beautiful thing that always excites me, is the opportunities that are here now and available to us with the internet, the scalability of the type of businesses that we run, is that you really can have the money and the time and the family and the things that are important to you. And it's just about being intentional with how you design that. But when we start to tell these stories that I have to sacrifice everything, my health, my time, my family, my sanity to make money, and that will make everything better and okay, and everything will work out after that, I think that's a dangerous route that we go down. And I first got a dose of that back in 2011. I had my first successful product launch. I did $400,000 in sales in 30 days. Everything I wanted. See, up at that point, I was making money my master. Everything I wanted was on the other side of that. And I got the money. The money came in and I was empty. I didn't get it. I was like, I'm the same loser that hates himself with low self-esteem. And, this had told myself I'm not good enough, not worthy. And when none of that changed, after I saw all the money in my bank account, I went into a pretty deep, dark depression and couldn't get off my couch for weeks. And that was realizing how important I had made money, how much power I had given to it, to say, it's going to change me once I have it. And when it didn't, that was really scary. So
hang on. That's a really good point you bring up, is that everyone thinks that having money will change your life. And if I had, like you're talking about, if I'm hearing you correctly from your story, is, if I have the money, my life's going to be hunky-dory great. Everything's going to be wonderful. But the reality is you're still the same person who just happens to have those resources. Yeah. But those resources don't make your life any better. So then people are still making money their master, not recognizing that what they're making their master is not creating any further enjoyment in their life or any air quote better of a life. Right?
Yeah. And you take your stuff with you wherever you go. So I saw this phase in my life where I started making more money, but then as fast as I was making it, I was spending it. So even though the more was coming in, just as much was going out. So I took what was left over was the same, even when I was making a little money versus a lot of money. And it's just like if you had a bucket with a hole in it and you go, okay, I'm going to put water in it, and the bucket's not filling up. So you go, I'll just put more water in it. But until you fix the hole, and that hole could be a literal hole, like in business, it could be a profit problem, an expense issue. And it can also be an issue of the thinking, of beliefs. If you don't believe you're deserving of the money you're making, you will find a way to let it slip through your fingers. And so I even, when I'm talking to business owners about money and expenses and profit margins, I tell them, when you have a low or bad or non-existent profit margin in your business, rarely is the solution to make more money, because they will take that profit problem with them wherever they go. I remember a client coming up to me and she started crying. I could see the water go right up to the top of her eyes. And she said, when am I finally going to see and experience keeping some of the money I'm making? And I said, well, where's your business at right now? And she goes, we just did 950,000 last year. Think about that for a moment. She had almost $1 million business. There's people listening that would kill for $1 million business right now. And she still wasn't seeing any of it. And I went through that phase. I went through that phase where you're making more money, but if you still believe you're not deserving of it, or money is bad, or root of all evil, whatever, you'll find a way to let it slip through your fingers. And she was doing that.
Let me ask you a question here. You've been in my home. I've been in your homes. What do you have? 14 homes now? I mean, you've got a lot.
27.
27 homes. Okay. I'm behind.
I'm kidding. Catch up.
I know where you live. We've been in each other's homes. We talk a lot about personal stuff. A lot of money flows into your life. A lot of money flows into my life. Let's simplify for people listening. What do you think creates that it's so easy for us to create money on a lot of it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big question. Let's see if we can unpack that in some way, because that's what people, even though we've even said, guys, don't focus on the money, that's what people are going to focus on. So let's see if we can unpack this a little more.
Yeah. And so before I answer that, I want to go to the opposite side of this whole conversation of don't let money be your master. At the same token, we want everyone listening to be absolutely wildly abundant in every way possible. So there's a way, and it's a balance to find in your own way where you are abundant and in that receptive mode of money and all the things that you want without making money your master. And finding that balance yourself is not necessarily easy, but we have to learn to manage that. So I think it's two things, two big things. There is no resistance existent at all within me around the receiving and asking for money. Okay. And number two, I do believe in the law of divine compensation, or people call it the law of value, where there is and we've talked about this with AYNI, it's the same type of thing where there is value that I'm putting out there. And that value is compensated. So if I wasn't putting out value, if I wasn't helping, I think there would be some drying up of that, some big drying up. So it's the ability to receive and to ask and allow in without any resistance. I don't have any qualms, stories, beliefs, resistance whatsoever about asking for money. For asking for my services, for my products. There's just nothing there around that for me. And then at the same token, there's always an energy, which we could bracket this under the conversation of AYNI, of putting out that goodwill, that value, that result, transformation, change for my students and clients. And I think those are two big pieces right there.
Yeah, let's go a couple of places here with this, is that I tell people, which you've touched on it in your own language in a different way, it's all the motivational stuff. You get paid for the value that you create in life. And I tell people that's not all the way accurate, is you get paid for the value you place on your value. Because if you deliver value, but you have low self-esteem and you don't value the value you create, the universe is going to reciprocate to the value that you don't place on your value.
Right. That was that first one, which is there's nothing in the way of me owning what I'm worth, owning my value, charging my prices. There's just nothing there. And I'll tell you what's at the heart of it. I think a big one is to expand this money conversation. Everyone has like a relationship with money. They have their stories about money, their beliefs about money. We can talk about where those come from and originate. I mean, when my nephew was 2 years old, I saw him playing with sugar packets at a breakfast place, and he was using it like money. You get some, and like, I'll trade you this for this. Like, he's already creating his relationship with money at 2, right? So it's getting passed on from our parents, from our caregivers, from a very young age. Crap, now I lost my train of thought. It'll come back. Oh, so what we do is we have this relationship and this story with money, but then where we have to be very careful is that when we step into a role of being a business owner, a salesperson, et cetera, we superimpose our money stories and beliefs on our prospects. We begin to assume that they have the same relationship with money as we do. And I don't know about you, Jim, but if you ever been in an experience where you're someone is selling to you and you can tell that they're bringing their money stuff into the conversation, like maybe they're a little hesitant to ask for the sale, or they're like, it's kind of expensive, but it's
yeah.
And we're doing that. And it's like, I just want to be like, don't you dare do that to me. Don't you assume that I have the same silly willy little beliefs about limiting beliefs about money that you would. Like, how dare you do that? How dare you assume that someone, like, that's just so disrespectful to superimpose and assume someone thinks a limited way about money. And I don't do that. You know, if I see something I want and I see that I can get value from it and it's worth it, I'm here. There's just boom, right? So I believe we superimpose and we got to be really careful about that. The other thing too is when it comes to asking for the sale, when it comes to putting your premium prices out there, charging what you're worth, so many of us have wrapped their identity up into it, and we are so afraid of the no. We're so afraid of rejection, or rather, more accurately, we're afraid of what we believe the no and what rejection will mean about us. And so we'll do whatever we can to avoid the no, to avoid the rejection. And that usually means undercharge, undervalue, or don't sell at all. And then of course, there's no way you're going to be making more money when you're undervaluing yourself, because let's be honest, no one wants to work with a coach that doesn't value themselves.
Right.
What are you going to teach me? Lack of confidence? Like, I'm not going to learn very much from that person.
Right.
And you're not going to be making a lot of money when you're not making any sales. So it's funny how it all like is interwoven and connects together, you know?
Yeah, let me build on that a little bit. So I hired a marketing company to build out a lot of stuff for us, somebody that I've known for a lot of years. And actually, I was his first client 10 years ago. Now he's got this entire digital marketing agency, all kinds and levels of marketing. And I talked to his team a couple of weeks ago. I set up a meeting with him and his team, and they brought me a proposal for everything they wanted to do with me, my marketing, everything. And they had 3 levels. The first level was, just redoing everything in the marketing and building it even stronger. And that was $256,000. There's a middle level, which is like 120, and then a low level, which is like 30 grand. And when they were actually presenting this to me, they kept going back to, you could really go to the top level if you wanted, but everybody always goes like, if you want to take everything apart and go for like the $12,000 or whatever. And I'm like, guys, because I taught persuasion and influence. I said, you guys are horrible salespeople. I mean, you guys should be doing what's in my best interest, which if you can do what you say you can do, that's your top rated package. Why are you not selling me your top rated package? If you think that's what's going to help me the most, you put it together, you did all this research, and now you're trying to talk me out of it.
They were talking you out of the 250. And that was really stupid, because if they knew you, they knew that you spend tons of money on all kinds of things without
don't even go there on this podcast. Everyone listening, he and my friend Brandon call me No Budget Fortin because of my house. So,
well, okay, I'm just going to expand on that. He had his interior designer, one of the best interior designers, like the best in the state, right? And I've worked with interior designers before, and anyone listening who's worked with one, they ask a very important question right at the beginning. They say, what's your budget? And Jim said, sky's the limit.
No budget. I did. But let me go there for a second. Well, are you done?
Yeah. No, I just said it's music to an interior designer's ears when you say something like, okay, he said no budget.
But
so
let me go there, because I see you living this way also. Is that something I read many years ago? Is that when we put money out, and I used to be this way, when we put money out, people are afraid to put money out.
Yes.
Because it's not, oh my gosh, if I have $10 and I put out 7, I've only got 3, metaphorically speaking. Mm-hmm. And I have no problems putting money out, because I always see it that when I put money out, that is an investment in myself to the universe that will always come back to me. Now, what do you hear there? I mean, what do you think?
I hear a couple of things. First of all, where I want to go with that is what's causing us to have a hard time letting go of money. And my first theory there is a possibility for people that are like, yes, it's so hard to let go of money, is because you have to look at, well, how did you get the money? And for a lot of people, money was hard gained.
Okay.
So if you had to work really hard to make that money because you're in that belief of you have to work hard to make the money and you don't value yourself, so you're undercharging and overworking to make a small amount of money, no wonder you'd have a hard time letting it go. Look how hard it was to get it, you know? And so it's rewiring our relationship with how we do the intake of money and the outtake. And when money is easier to flow in your life, it will be easier to let it flow, but people will say, I'll let it go easier once it's easier to come in. And to that, we say it's backwards.
It's backwards.
We have to be willing to let it out, let it go, because that action is to me, is a act of faith that more can come.
Yeah.
So when you have a hard time releasing money, what you're saying is at a subconscious level, at an energetic level, you're saying it's not easy for more to come back in. But when you let it flow easily, you're saying more will come. And then therefore it is so, it is done, more will come. And this is simple. This is not easy. This can be very hard. It'd be very scary. Yeah.
We make it hard because of the world. Let me go a couple of places here with people. Let's bring this back down to the ground. So we live in Sedona. We live a couple of miles apart. And
we're doing this virtually.
No, that's the world we live in. You know what, guys? We're going to do one of these live probably next week. James, I'll get in the same room. We'll do one of these live for you guys. And so anyway, smart ass. So anyway, okay. So we live in Sedona, and I had to do headshots yesterday, all new rebranding headshots and everything. And you and I've never seen you in anything other than a t-shirt and flip-flops. That's all you wear. Even in December, that's what you're wearing. Yeah. You're not materialistic, which I'll go to in just a minute. But as you know, here in Sedona, we don't have any stores. And so I'm like, oh my God, I don't have an iron. And so I'm like, I need to wear some decent shirts for these headshots. And so I went to CVS, and they don't sell.
Oh gosh.
And they're like, we don't sell starch, never sold a can of it. Nobody in this town starches anything. Why would we sell starch? So I run around town looking for starch. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have an iron. I moved, I got rid of it. Guess what? I went to the Goodwill store, and they had an iron for $2. So I got my iron from the Goodwill store for $2 yesterday. And where I want to go there is to help people in their thinking is you and I can buy pretty much anything that we would want financially, watches or homes or whatever. But you live so simply. And all we ever wear, both of us, t-shirts and flip-flops. Okay. And you live so simply. What do you think? Let's see if we can unpack this. Where people attach to the money and they make it defined. Right. And the more money I make, I'm going to go buy, because you could buy any car you wanted or want. I can too. But people attach to that stuff. What's your take on why that's not healthy for people to attach their identity to the money?
Well, I think the first thing is a lot of people who are doing that is like, are you doing it to signal to others something about you? Yeah. And then are you just living for the opinions and judgments of others? Like, I need people to know I make money. I need people to know that I'm successful. And I actually have like always really loved and enjoyed the complete opposite side, which is like, I want to be the most unassuming like person that you just wouldn't know. So yeah, I have a hole in my sock right now.
I know. I'm surprised you got pants on right now. And
you don't know that. And you can only see from the waist up.
We don't need to know, by the way. And just so you guys know, when I went to Goodwill yesterday, I'm like, this looks like James Wedmore's closet in here. I mean, all of his
Oh my gosh, what a jerk. You did not say that. He's lying. Whatever. But listen,
clothes are super casual.
Here's something that will be, I think, beautiful to share is like you mentioned, the last year I've been very fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time with Don Javier. And I was reflecting recently on all the growth I've had in the past 12, 13 months.
Yeah.
More growth, more blessings, more miracles, more experiences in the past year than probably my entire life combined. That's a pretty big thing to say. And I've learned more about who I am than I ever have. I've learned, it's like, I feel like I'm a glove and I'm fitting into this glove. Like, ooh, this is me. I'm fitting more into me. I'm more integrated with me and who I am today than who I was a year ago, 5 years ago, et cetera, which means I'm learning more about me than I ever have. And to sit and have 36 years of your life and then another year on top of it and learn so much about you, and then sit there looking into the future going, I wonder how much more I can learn about who I am. To then start to assume that a stranger would know who you are, or to concern yourself with what a stranger should know you, who a stranger should know you to be or think about you, becomes such a petty, irrelevant thing. It's like, I barely know me at all, and I am loving what I'm learning and loving who I am discovering myself to be. Like, what does someone else's opinion of me have to do at all with me? And you just have this experience that's so irrelevant. So yeah, I wear t-shirts and board shorts and walk around in sandals, and I went and looked at a home recently that we're looking at getting. It is a multi-million-dollar home, and I showed up in that same attire, and I don't really care what they think or say. But that's my choice. And then when it comes to buying things, yeah, I have a very entrepreneurial thinking about it. Is if I'm going to get something, I look, is there an ROI here? Is this going to pay dividends for me? For example, I did buy what some people would see on the surface level as a crazy thing. I bought a $75,000 van, and then I've put another $75,000 into it, turning it into a camper van.
And he's going to name it the Mystery Machine.
I'm not going to name it that. That's what you want to name it. His name is Van Helsing. So people would say, like, what are you doing spending $150,000 on a van? Well, first off, any vehicle that's over, I think, 6,000 pounds, it's a write-off, right? So you get to write a big chunk of it off. And number two, we have created another company out here that is a travel tourism business in Sedona. We rent Airbnbs, and we are looking to get into renting camper vans. It's a huge trend right now, and I'm doing the math, I'm doing the numbers, and it's amazing. You can get $250 to $350 a night renting out a camper van. You start doing the math on that, and that adds up. So I'm sitting there going, this is all going to be a write-off, boom, and it could actually be something that's profitable. And that's how the Airbnb business started too. As I said, I wanted to get into real estate, but how could I start to not just have it pay for itself, but actually produce positive cash flow? Now we have a $700,000. Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone, I am interrupting. Notice the thinking.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's thinking, how can I take something, meaning not just do business, but how can I expand upon what I'm doing in my business? And he's doing something. He's looking at it as, we won't go too far there because not everyone's entrepreneurs here, but if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, how can I maximize that in the genre that I'm already working in? And what other ways can I create income generating streams of revenue? Well,
and you say not everyone here is an entrepreneur, but I would really encourage that no matter what you do for money, you have a job, career, or you're just a parent, not just, but you don't have a job, you're full-time mom, full-time dad, whatever.
That's a job. Go ahead.
That's like 5 jobs. I know, I get it. I would still invite and encourage that you adopt an entrepreneurial way of being and thinking in your life, because even a lot of like tax advice, people will say, like, listen, start a business just so you can start to write some things off in your, and I'm not a CPA, so I can't give any advice here, but I think it's, even if I would never want someone to say, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, this part doesn't apply to me. It's like, if you had a casita, like half the houses I have like casitas, and it's like you had a casita and you can start renting that out and start, paying the mortgage down. Like there's just all these ways in which we can think a little bit more outside the box. And I think that's what entrepreneurs do. I think that was very much in my nature, is I was always thinking a little differently than everyone else. And I could always see an opportunity when everyone else saw a problem. And I always want to assist people in thinking that same way that we think,
Let me add there. I used to work with a guy. I used to speak with him, and we did programs together. And he works in the multi-level marketing industry. And he said something that I thought was really smart at the time. He goes, everyone should have some kind of business on their own.
Yes.
And if nothing else, have a multi-level marketing business that you have set up as a business. Why?
Totally.
because you're going to take advantage of all the tax laws in the United States, and it's going to make your life so much easier to do that. And so many people that are struggling with money right now, and you help a lot of people with this, even people that think they're entrepreneurs aren't operating as entrepreneurs. You can dig into that because some people would be interested in that. Is how are they thinking they're entrepreneurs, but they're really not?
I'll give a great. I'm going to answer that, but before I do that, something came to mind when you're talking earlier about okay, James dresses kind of like a bum. First of all,
no,
dress
I said
how
goodwill. I didn't say bum. I said goodwill.
No, I'm interpreting. I know you didn't say that. I also it's worth noting too, is I used to drive the $120,000 Tesla.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I drove that. Yes. I was really excited about the car, but there was a part of me that's yeah, I want to show people, oh, look at me, look at the car I drive.
Right.
I traded that in and I got a Jeep that's a third of the price. And I'm happier in the Jeep. And one of the ways of thinking behind that was, I'm going to save $1,000. Can you believe that? $1,000 a month by having the Jeep. I'm happier with the Jeep because I get to take it off road, make it dirty and all that fun stuff. And I have a blast in it. I love how it feels. I love how it drives, and that's all that matters, right? And I'm saving $1,000 a month. And I started to go, what could I do with that extra $1,000 a month to get that to work for me? And, we're getting these Airbnbs and these investment properties. I'm like, that's a mortgage. That's half a mortgage on one of our places that produces 3 to 4x in cash flow from the expenses there. I'm like, well, that's a whole nother level of thinking, and so yeah, for me, I'm not, we had when we had our biggest launch to date 2 years ago, I went out to Vegas with some friends, mutual friends that
Yep.
And I bought a Hublot watch. Do you know what a Hublot is? I had never heard of Hublot before.
Question. No idea.
They sell $250,000 watches. Now, I didn't spend $250,000 on a watch. I spent I think it was $8,000 or $9,000. That's a lot of money.
I've never seen you wear it.
And I never wear it.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? It doesn't go with the board shorts. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It comes with its own beautiful case. It's almost more like an ornament in my house. It just sits there on a shelf, and I look at it, and it's a symbol of, having hit some level and everything, but I don't really like wearing it.
Okay, I'll stop here because people listening, what caused you to buy it?
I don't know. And I've dug into that. There is definitely the part of it's a status symbol.
Okay.
And, then there's also that there's something exciting and cool that you can buy something like that without it being something heavy. You know what I mean? It's not like a stress. It's not a burden. It was just if you went out and bought $100, someone listening, if someone went out and bought $100 watch, it felt the same way. It was just
right.
Oh yeah, I'll get this one, and there was something very accomplishing and rewarding. And I do it's very important, I believe, to celebrate your wins and whatnot. And so it was a celebration. It was a huge accomplishment and milestone. It's I deserve this. But if I were to do it again, the most exciting part was just buying it.
Yeah.
There's really been no desire to be I want to wear this and let people know that I can afford this.
I've never seen you, and I see you a lot, but
I think in 2 years, I think I've worn it 3 or 4 times.
Wow. Let me add something here. I want to point out an observation here for people that are watching or listening. You can't see us, but there's a theme in here that maybe you haven't even, you know the theme once I tell you. It seems like business for you and money generation and wealth generation and creation is a game in a good way.
It's a fun game.
That's where I wanted to go. What does that mean?
It means I don't do it because I have to. I don't do it for survival. I don't do it because I need to, got to. I do it because I love it. I do it because I'm having fun. And because I'm having fun, that's the energy I bring into all of it. And there's not too much seriousness to it. It's a blast. I have such a blast. And it's actually one of my life core values. If I'm not having fun doing something, I don't want to do it. And we all have to do things that we don't want to do. We all have to do things like pay taxes and maybe we got to fire someone. But those are means to an end. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do the things that you get to do. And I never lose sight of that. And that's always important. And that is important for all of us, is that whatever you're choosing to do with your life, you better do the thing that you love. You better do the thing that's fun for you. And I'm always chasing fun. I'm always. And if it's not fun, why are you doing it?
Well, let's take this apart some more, because you're talking to a lot of people. Was there ever a time in your life, for the listeners here, where you did things for survival and for the money, and because you got to pay your bills and you need the money?
Well, not really. I did, because the story went like this: is in college, I was doing entrepreneurial things and I was having a lot of fun. I was selling stuff on eBay. I was like literally like 21 years old. I was doing this since I was 15. I'd get up at 6 a.m. and I'd go to garage sales and I would buy stuff there really cheap, wheel and deal. And then I was flipping it on eBay, and I was doing this in college. And then a friend came to me, and I didn't do it because I need money. My parents always like, we'll take care of you. Just get good grades in college. Just be responsible in college and we'll take care. So I didn't need to. I wanted to because I wanted the extra money. And then junior, senior year, I had someone I thought was a really close friend just said something to me, and he goes, why don't you just get a real effing job already? And I was so impressionable back then. I was so like lost and confused in my own life. I was doing what I wanted to do, but at the same time, if someone told me, so I literally said, I guess it's time to grow up and get a real job. And I went out and became a bartender. And I got a job as a bartender, and I hated it. It was the first time I was doing something I was not having fun. I was like, I'm doing this because I think it's the responsible thing that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of bit my lip and put on a smile and did it. But no matter what, like I was being pulled away from it. You know what I mean? Like life couldn't hold me back. I just kept looking for other things. Before you know it, I had set up a website and a business, and I was mobile bartending, and I'm getting clients on the side. But yeah, I mean, I was going down a career path of being a bartender and working for others, and I wasn't happy. And
well, let me ask you this: as a bartender, did you ever have to open wine bottles that had screw-on caps?
Ha 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 ha! He's making fun of me.
Private joke. We'll keep it at that.
Very funny. No, I tried using a bottle opener to open a bottle of wine that was a twist off cap. And though that matters is that I did it.
Yeah, he's in the kitchen
last
Monday, and I heard him fumbling in the kitchen. I'm like, he went to open a bottle of wine. I'm like, what's he doing in there? He's fumbling around in the kitchen. And then he comes back in the dining room, and this was at his house. And he used the corkscrew to open a bottle of wine that had a screw-off cap on it.
And that's not the most embarrassing part. The most embarrassing part was I came back in the room. I said, Jim, this bottle didn't have a cork in it. Is there something wrong with it?
Yeah, he opened
it's a screw-on cap, buddy. Oops. Yeah. But I opened it. I ripped a hole in the cap and I got it open.
And cut your thumb. But to his credit, he did make it happen. A couple more questions here.
Wait. I want to answer your question that you asked a few minutes ago. I said I'd come back. So here's a distinction here when someone is operating as an employee in their own business. So let's use this example. Two people. One's a successful entrepreneur. They think like the entrepreneur. The other one is acting and operating like an employee in their business. And both of them say, I want to make more money. The employee, their strategy is, I'll work harder, I'll work longer, I'll work faster, I'll work weekends. I'll get up earlier, I'll stay later. That's their strategy for making more money. That's fine, except for one problem. That's a finite resource that you're working
I'll
with.
hustle, I'll work harder.
Yeah, and you're going to run out at some point. I mean, there's only so much time in a day. There's only so many days in a week, right? And there's only so much energy you can do before you're exhausted and you start depleting your health. And as you get older, that's less and less sustainable. So the way I like to phrase this, and I'm curious how you look at this, Jim, the successful entrepreneur, when they want to make more money, they don't go, I'll work longer, harder. They actually say, I'm going to elevate my role. They focus on higher level, higher value activities. So instead of expanding and working longer, more, they ascend, they elevate, and they work on the most important things. and they begin to let go, delete, outsource, or delegate everything else. And it's a very simple thing. This is a big piece that I teach, is that if you're in business, the role that you fill in your business will determine the results that you receive.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a really hard time growing a business if you spend all day in the role of customer support, tech, being your own assistant, being the person doing invoicing and, all that little stuff that may be important and needs to get done, but is never going to move the needle.
Yeah, let's speak to that. As Warren Buffett said, and there's very few exceptions to this, he said, you're never going to become wealthy working for anyone else. And so many people that listen to my podcast, and you have a huge podcast, work for other people. And I've never been one that's ever wanted to work for someone else. It just doesn't work for me. Something doesn't feel right about it. And Brian Tracy, many years ago, you know who he is, right? Peak Performance, et cetera. Brian Tracy, many years ago, I was listening to cassette tapes in the Walkman back in the 90s. And he said, even if you have a job, never see yourself as an employee. Always see yourself as the CEO of you, and you actually rent or sell your skills to the highest bidder out in the marketplace. So even when I did work a job for a bit, a job, like for example, when I waited tables, I said, if I'm going to sling hash, I'm not going to do it at a place where I'm going to make $100 a night. I'm going to do it at a place where I'm going to make $300 a night. It's still the same thing, waiting tables. But if I go work for $100 a night 20 years ago or 25 years ago, I'm working for $100 a night. Most people get jobs out of security, which doesn't exist, and they work for other people at the rate other people want to pay them, as opposed to finding the value in themselves. And I think the real gold is, and the platinum and the diamonds, is when you find something that you want to do for yourself, you're good at it, you can manage it as well, which is the key aspect, manage it as a business, because it is a business, and you love what you do, and you can charge for your value. Whereas most people just settle for, I need security, let me go take a job. And they do that for 20 years, and they wonder why after 20 years, they're still working for somebody and they don't have any money in the bank.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add? We'll wrap up there. We've been chatting for a long time.
No, it's great. No, I think that's great. Well, you said you had other questions.
Oh, I was, let's go a little bit different direction. About 2 years ago, I was helping you with some things, teaching you some neurolinguistics, and I didn't charge you anything for it. And one day you asked me for my PayPal, and I'm like, well, okay, here you go. And you sent me $10,000. Now, that same day, the morning before, I sent somebody else as a gift $10,000. So I found, I love the synchronicity that I put out 10,000 just as a gift to someone. And the very next day that 10,000 shows back up in my account. But expand upon that a little more from a different perspective, is that so many people are afraid to put out money. How come you sent me, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Of course I do.
Yeah. How come you sent me $10,000?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. I had to put myself back in there and what I was going through. I would say the first piece was, that like when people that say that phrase, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with value. Value's in the eye of the beholder. So what you were teaching and sharing with me was already in my mind. I could see the implications that vastly outweighed even $10,000.
Yeah.
And what that would do, because the things that you taught me and the things I learned went into my messaging for my products. It went into the content that I deliver in my products. It went into my presentations. It actually became a part of a curriculum of bringing on coaches that support our members. And then we started helping other coaches in their businesses. I mean, the ripple effect from that is so vast and still happening years later.
Yeah.
That 10,000 was like nothing it was even just like not even enough, but it was something, and you wanted to just offer it. I guess originally you're just like, I just want to teach this to you, or you?
Well, I did it because you gave me a big hand up when I was on your first podcast, the first time, episode 114. I would not be doing it the level that I'm doing now if I wasn't on your podcast. And the way that I saw it is, this guy helped me. Let me help this guy back. Or he assisted me. Let me give back. And that's why I did for you at no charge. And then you said, well, let me give back to you because you gave to me. And that's something, and we'll finish up our call here today. I see so many people that are afraid to give. And I mean, what I want to ask is, are you seeing the same thing? I mean, but it's epidemic.
Yeah, of course.
It's
they're
epidemic.
afraid to, the only reason we're afraid to give is because we believe there won't be enough to receive. That's all that there will be, that more isn't coming. And that's the thing is, so we're waiting, we've conditioned it, right? So if and when more comes, then I'll give.
Yeah.
That doesn't inspire a TED Talk.
It's backwards.
My opinion.
Yeah.
It's so backwards, right? It's the faith. You gave first to someone else, and then boom, you receive, right? And here's a thing is, one of my when we're buying all these homes for the Airbnbs, my agent he probably showed us like 20 homes.
Is this an agent that I know also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And nope, not it. Nope, not it. Nope, not it. Nope, 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 nope. And I saw, and my family is in real estate. I know how hard you have to work if you want, and you've worked with real estate agents. It's a tough racket, right? You can make a lot of money, but you gotta be willing to like, work a bit, And he just kept showing up, never had a complaint or anything. And I just got like, when I get quiet and I have my moments of tuning and silence, he came, to me, and I said, I need to get him something. And I ended up buying him an $1,800 gift. And it was just what was called to me. And then boom, like the next house we saw was like the right one.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. Like, I'm just observing that, but like, for me, it comes back to the AYNI conversation too, is like, I saw what he was putting out and the faith he was putting in me, that like, we never even signed like a buyer broker agreement or anything like that. It's just like a word and a handshake, but he's putting in all this time. And I hadn't done anything, and
I want to point out, so everybody listening, I am interrupting.
Yeah.
Is you're also, so that people aren't being taken advantage, because people will take advantage of other people, is he also knew that you were a qualified buyer. So he was putting out time and his energy to somebody that would not throw his time in the trash, who would not waste his time. So all of you listening, we have to set boundaries with people. We have to, you have to be professional about things. And James's body language changed, if you're listening, is if you don't set boundaries, some people will use you. And they will use you and walk away and turn their back. Be smart, and that does not mean be selfish. Be smart with the energy you're putting out and the people that you put it out to. Just be judicious with that.
Yeah, 100%. That's a whole nother huge conversation, but it's just human nature to like, people will try and take advantage. People are takers, and people listening, like, here's a great way to be more abundant. Don't be a taker.
Hang on, but let's talk here about this. So many people are takers. I used to be that, but not in a bad way, but a taker. Some people are takers, but they don't even know they're takers. And they're all about, I've had people I've helped out. Just out of the goodness of my heart, like, I can help this person, heck, I go out of my way to help them and do something for them. And I kid you not, you've had this. You don't even get a thank you from the person. Not even a simple, really seriously, thank you so much for investing 30 minutes to help me out, or an hour or whatever. And they're taking. And then they wonder why they're upside down, because they're working in a vacuum. They're sucking, they're sucking in energy and not giving any back, because they're so desperate because they don't have money, and they take and take and take, and they create a lack of money in their life because they take and take and take and take.
And I think they're coming from that take energy because they're in lack.
That's exactly.
You don't need to take unless you believe you don't have enough. And so when abundance and talking about conversations like abundance is coming from a place of like, you're okay and you already have enough. And so when you're in that space, there's nothing to take from anybody else anyways. Now, there's a big difference between receiving versus taking.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I hope Brandon doesn't mind me sharing this.
You've already done it, so go ahead.
Oops, sorry, Brandon. But this was actually very. I was very impressed by this. You'll be like, "Oh, Brandon, I'm so proud of you." So he and I started a business together several years ago, and it was very successful.
I remember this. This is a beautiful story to finish up on. Go ahead.
But my heart was never in it. I didn't. It wasn't for me. I didn't want to.
LVA, Local Video Academy, for you guys listening.
Yeah, it was fun, and I actually my favorite part was just working with Brandon.
Yeah.
But I didn't really want to be known as that. I didn't really want to like put my name on it. I didn't want anything to do with it really. But it was very successful. I mean, it made a couple $1 million in like 18 months. And the things that were coming with Business by Design were coming. I could feel them. They were
Which
coming.
is what you do now,
knew,
Business by Design. Yep.
This is what I do now. I knew I needed to create space for that. And I didn't want to get into all this stuff. And so I just went to him and was like, do you want to keep doing this? And I don't want to like abandon you or anything, but like, do you want to just take it and run with it and it's yours and do your thing? And he was like, okay. And he did. And he came over to my house about a month ago. Last time he was here, not this time, but the time before. And he hands me $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I realized I should have given something for what you gave me.
Wow. Yeah.
And in no way was I like, I'm completely like 100% here. No way for a moment did I ever want, need, or expect even $1. I didn't even need a thank you. I didn't need an acknowledgement. I didn't need credit.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a real like, and this was years ago. So it was a real like, wait, oh yeah, I remember that. It was like 6-7 years ago. It's a long time ago. And here he is. This is like literally a month ago. But I also, when someone is choosing to give something to me, I'll receive it. And I know it's just as important to be in that receptive mode as when someone is in that abundant giving mode. So I said, wow, that's amazing. I just let him know. I don't need it. I didn't expect it. This is not weighing on me in 1 ounce, but you have your money in your hand that you're handing to me. I'm going to receive it. And that's that. You're giving it to me. I'm taking it. And I mean, really though, like, and I'm in that receptive. I'm not going to deny that. If he goes, this is what makes it right for me.
Right.
This is what I know I need to do. Then who am I to say, no, I can't take it. You know, and that can be, you can do it as an act. Oh, no, you don't need to do it.
Right.
But like, no, I insist. Okay. But I think that's an important piece of the money conversation is our ability to receive. And
we're going to have to expand on that and do another call, but I want to.
Fine.
We're on the hour here, so I want to wrap up, but I want to add something here. I remember when that happened because Brandon and I were friends, and he's like, he called me and he's like, James just gave it to me. I'm like, wait, this business does like $2 million a year, and he actually, air quote, just gave it to you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, whoa, because I wasn't working from where I work from today. Where I want to go today is we both work with Don Javier, and you know, and I know that you tell the truth about this, is that whenever we need anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If he can help with it, he will help with it all the time. No questions asked. And how many times has he asked you for something in return?
Never, no.
Me either. In 25 years, he's never, ever asked for anything. And he's always said to, as you know now, is he goes, my job is to help you guys. I'm here to serve. And that's where I work from. And I think you work from is how can I serve? And I want to serve the right people in my demographic that also want to serve me also by exchanging energy back with me. Otherwise, if I serve, all these people take and I have no energy coming back. But the name of the game truly is as true AYNI as service from an open heart. And the word AYNI that James has mentioned, and I just did, I've done 2 other podcasts with James, and we talk about AYNI in business. And so many of you get a little reflective after this call today is if you're not getting something in your life, plain and simple, if you're not getting something, it's because you're first not giving something. And if you see things disappearing from your life, that's a reflection of you. You're taking, and the universe is taking right back out of your pocket. But please take that away from this episode, is if you're not getting something in your life, it's because you're not giving. Because like James said, and I tell people, with fire, you have to put firewood in before you get the heat in the fire. But all of us want the fire first, but you've got to put the firewood in first. This is what we're going to do, if you will. If I can talk you into it, let's do another call in 10 days or so, or thereabouts.
Ugh.
I know. I'll pay you $10. You'll do it.
I'm in. Well, Brandon gave me 10,000, so let's.
I'm not Brandon, so thank God. We love you, Brandon. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, let's do another call because I want to expand a little more with you. I mean, and mainly because you've created a lot of wealth and a lot of abundance, and you know how, as I do, but you do it in your own way, in your words. We know how to help other people create more abundance, and I suggest many people follow you. Everyone, Mind Your Business? What's the whole name? I know it, but I don't know it. Mind Your Business podcast, right?
The super amazing, awesome, and sexy Mind Your Business podcast. That's the full name.
That's gonna reroute back to me. But yours is Mind Your Business podcast.
Yeah, that's Mind Your Business podcast.
I've been on it. I should know this. Duh.
You should know. You've been on it 3 times too.
I know, but guys, everyone listening, it's a really, really, really good podcast. And being an entrepreneur is not just about the mechanics of being an entrepreneur. There's so much psychology and spirituality and ways of being behind it.
Oh, totally. We didn't learn it in school.
No, we didn't. And both of us are here. We'll do another episode. We're here to help you guys and one more thing is, don't just take what you heard today and, oh, that's good stuff, and forget about it tomorrow. That solves nothing. Doesn't improve you in any way. Take and digest what 2 people who have done it. I mean, both of our businesses are in the top 1% of businesses in the US. Take what we're bringing to you guys and use it in your own life. All right. Any parting wisdom?
Yeah, I think just one phrase to sum it up that I know that Don talks about a lot is going back full circle, is how important it is that we don't let money change us.
Yeah. Don't let money be your master.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend of mine, Akio Matsumura, who is a global diplomat, very, very successful. I mean, he brought the Dalai Lama together and different people. And he told me 25 years ago, he goes, money changes people. And the truth is, look at James. I mean, literally, if you saw him on the street, I mean, not goodwill, but he's all t-shirts and flip-flops. And he's not let it change who he is as a person. You can't let the money turn you into something you're not, because then it becomes your master. And then when you don't have it, life gets hard.
Yeah. And I have let it change me, but I've learned my lessons. So. And
you've let it change you now in the service. I mean, you're all heart, you're all service. So thank you for being here today.
Hey, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, next time we'll do it live. I'll head over to your house. You'll head over to mine, or we can go to Miley's for breakfast and have it at Miley's.
There we go. This is a great plan. I love this.
All right, brother. I'll see you a little later. Thank you for being here today.
Okay.
Talk to
you,
you
Jim.
later.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye. Okay, so that wraps up this episode. Stay with me for a second, please. It's really important that you do. I wouldn't have brought James to be with you guys if I didn't know that he could bring great value. I have a tremendous amount of respect for James. He's like family to me, and we spend a lot of personal time together. And what I know about him, and one of the things that I value most about him, professionally speaking, is there are so many charlatans in our industry and so many people that are out for the easy and the quick buck. James has extraordinary, and I mean extraordinary, impeccable integrity, and his integrity is beyond reproach. I mean, I have tremendous respect for him. And that being said, he's got a 3-part series coming up. It's a live training starting on June the 17th. And it's called The Rise of the Digital CEO. And even if you don't want to be a digital CEO, that's fine. But if you're in any way, and you don't think of yourself as a digital CEO, if you really want to do well online, you must start thinking of yourself that way. But anyways, I was saying, if you're in business of any kind and you're wanting to grow a business, then whatever you do, mark the date of June the 17th on your calendar and plan to attend this free training. Free means no charge. 3-part training starting on June the 17th. You can also go to my website, jimfortin.com/riseofthedigitalceo.com to register. Again, jimfortin.com/riseofthedigitalceo.com. I can't stress enough, I'm being a little repetitive. I trust him implicitly, or I would never bring him to my podcast or even mention this, because I know in this free training, he's going to blow your mind and bring you extraordinary value and knowledge and wisdom that you can use to start growing your online business. Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you over on another episode. Bye-bye. If you're serious about transforming your life from the inside out, I have a free training that you're going to want to listen to, and it's helped tens of thousands of people all around the globe. The thing is, all of my students start here because when you learn to change your thinking, you'll change your life. Because as you already know, life happens from the inside out. The training is called Discover How to Eliminate Fear and Negativity in an Instant. So go to jimfortin.com/eliminate fear and start learning how to transform your life at a deeper level from the inside out.
Thank you for listening to this entire podcast. If you're the kind of person who likes to help others, then share this with your friends and family. You know, if you found value, they will too. So please share via your social media channels. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to assist. You can email me questions to support@jimfortin.com, and I may even use your question for a future podcast episode. Also, if you want transformational content like this daily, connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Jim Fortin. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that we're all here to help others and to grow and evolve ourselves. Together, you and I, let's help more people. If you would please leave a review on iTunes, and a good one, by the way. I'd be grateful, and through your assistance together, we can transform more lives. Thanks for listening.